teleprompter's not going. Are we going?
We're going to do it again.
I guess I could have looked at the iPad, I just wasn't thinking. As the days get warmer and we move into spring, winter sports are also heating up as they get ready for postseason action. Will women's hockey benefit from the new one-game playoff setup? Can Odine Tufto win the coveted Hobie Baker Award? And which winter sport has the best chance of winning a conference title? All this and more coming at you right now on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Izzy Agricola, and I am so lucky to be sitting alongside Gage Kilborn and Ryan Flaherty, who look more than ready for some spirited debates tonight. Guys, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling great. Izzy, ready to go?
Oh, definitely. I'm looking forward to showing him how women's ice hockey rolls.
Well, I'm very excited to see what you both will bring to the table tonight, so let's get right into it. The women's ice hockey team picked up a win and a loss in back-to-back games against number 5 ranked Colgate this past weekend. Defeating a nationally ranked team seems to be a good sign for the Bobcats. Gage, if the Bobcats are able to beat Colgate again this week, what will be the reason why?
The reason for this is that it's all because of Logan Angers. Logan Angers went off in the first 2 games. She had 32 saves in the first game and 42 saves in their Saturday game with their win. And she had some great saves, but near the end, you can sort of see her start to loosen it and start to lose control near the end of it. So overall, I think Taylor Gerard also is another key asset to it, and that's a big reason why they are where they are today.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track, Gage. But going even further than that, I think the biggest thing is the seniors on this team. They have to contribute. We saw that this weekend in their 5-3 win. They beat Colgate. The question is, can they do it again? All 5 different seniors scored in that game. It was Taylor House, Grace Markey, Taylor Gerard, Laura Lundblad, and Brooke Bonsteel all scored in that game, all contributing. So I think that's the biggest key for this team is all of those seniors, those core players, those experienced players as we head into the playoffs where things get tough and stuff is going to happen. They need to rely on those core players to win. Obviously, Gage is right. Logan Angers needs to play well and play really well in this series. She played tremendously against Colgate, and that is going to have to continue in order for them to progress throughout the ECAC playoffs.
COVID changed the way all sports were played this year, and this team is no exception. With a shortened season, the Bobcats go into ECAC semifinals with a one-game format rather than a series structure of previous years. Ryan, does this new one-game setup better benefit Quinnipiac?
Absolutely, Izzy. And how could it not? I mean, they only have to win 2 games to win an ECAC hockey championship. This is probably the easiest road to putting up a banner in the Frank Friday Junior Arena that they're ever going to have. There's only 4 teams in the conference this year, so there's a new format. The seeds are based off percentage of points, and I think in order for this Quinnipiac team to win the one-game structure is the best thing they're going to have. They've struggled in the past winning those 3-game series. You go back to Clarkson a few years ago, they put up a good fight, but eventually a really good team like Clarkson is going to beat them in a 3-game series. So I think the one-game playoff is huge for them. It gives them a really great chance to compete for a conference championship.
I have to agree with you, Ryan. I'm also on the same page. I say that this is a big advantage for them. And I'm going to quote from a movie called Miracle on Ice, where it was when they were getting ready to play the Russians for that big game, and you see Herb Brooks gets his team ready and says, this team will probably beat us 9 out of 10 times, but not tonight. So I think that's a big advantage for the underdogs because they're probably going into each game knowing it's just a single elimination format and anything can happen. You just got to beat them once. I'm going to show off some numbers from previous NCAA tournaments that show it. The 2018 NCAA basketball tournament where UMBC pulled out the biggest upset over number 1 seeded Virginia. And the 2015 NCAA hockey tournament when RIT beat number 1 Minnesota State 2-1, and that's overall ranked. So I see it as a great opportunity for the women's ice hockey team to make it to the NCAA tournament.
I like that. One of my favorite movies of all time, Miracle.
The men's ice hockey team will also be competing in ECAC playoffs later this month. They are currently in position to snag the regular season trophy, largely thanks to the depth scoring of their third and fourth lines. Gage, who is the most important bottom six forward for the Bobcats this season?
That's going to be Desi Burgard. He's had a tremendous season so far, and even as a bench player, he's had 10 goals a season with 5 assists, and that's in 25 games. And as a bench player, that's incredible numbers. If you have those type of numbers, definitely your starters that are sitting on the bench will be at more at ease when the rest of the season continues, and later on when you get into the depth of the playoffs.
Look, I think you're right. Desi Burgard is an extremely important player on this team. Obviously, he's had 15 points this year, but when you look at the bottom six moving forward, I think Desi Burgard has a target on his back, right? Because he is the kind of the lone producer of that bottom six. So I think personally the most important bottom six forward moving forward is Matthew Fawcett. Matthew Fawcett is a smaller guy, a more skill and speed-based guy who is going to get around some of the bigger, heavier teams like Clarkson and St. Lawrence. I think he's just the best finisher of the next crew. Burgard has had some top line minutes. That's another thing that I think kind of shades. I'll shade towards Fawcett in this area because I think he has the best finishing ability of people that are going to be open and able to put pucks in net. I also think Gus Van Ness is extremely important because he is going to set up both Matthew Fawcett and Desi Burgard. He has 11 assists already this season, so that's a name to look out for. But I think moving forward, you're going to need to hear less of the Tuftos, the Smolanics, the Burgarts, and more of the Fawcetts, the Friedmans, the Filions, for this team to really go far in the ECAC playoffs.
One of the stars of the season for Quinnipiac has been senior captain Odin Tufto. He leads the league in points and is second in the nation for points per game. These numbers put him in contention for the Hobie Baker Trophy. A Quinnipiac player has never won the coveted award, but former Bobcat Chase Prisky was a top 10 finalist in 2019. Ryan, who's the better Hobie Baker candidate, Tufto or Prisky?
Well, listen, this is like picking a favorite child for someone who's covered this team. I mean, they're both incredible players, but I think I'm going to have to go with Chase Prisky, and I'll give you a few reasons why. He not only was he a defenseman, but he was basically a quasi-forward the way he played. In his senior year, he led the team with 17 goals. He led the league in just about everything you could. He led the nation 10 power play goals. He had 23 power play points, which led the ECAC. He set a program record for goals by a defenseman, 39. Like I said, 17 goals, led the team. 39 points, was second on the team. He led the ECAC with 5 game-winning goals, so he was a clutch player. And I think just off the ice, he was even nominated for a senior class award. He was as good of a captain as I've ever seen on any Quinnipiac sports team. I just think when it all comes down to it, the better all-around player, the better all-around choice is Chase Prisky.
I have to disagree with you here, Ryan. I'm not saying it's Chase Prisky. I'm saying it's Odin Tufto because he seems more of like a team player per se than I thought Chase Prisky was. I think Chase Prisky, he has scored more goals overall has scored more goals this season than Odin Tufto has for sure with 17 compared to Tufto's 5. But I think you have to also look at the assists. He's leading the country in assists by 11 with 35 assists with his 5 goals. That puts him with 40 points for second in the NCAA. And I think it's something you got to look at is that proves how humble he is as a player. I think it's something that the committee's got to put into consideration when they decide who's going to win the Hobie Baker Award.
Well, you talk about intangibles. I think Chase Prisky had those in strides. I mean, he was a shutdown defenseman while putting a bunch of goals in the back of the net and leading this team. So I think for me, it's got to be Prisky.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tough conversation. You both made some great points there. I do think I have to side with Gage in this one. I'm going to say Tufto has a better chance, but I guess we will see. And you've both clearly done your research about Quinnipiac's ice hockey teams. And with playoffs right around the corner, I do have to ask, what do your brackets look like?
So we're going to start on the men's side, and I'm going to take you through that. So this year, as I mentioned, the ECAC has a new format, and the seeds are based on percentage of available points. So the men's regular season has not finished, so we don't quite know the bracket, but as it stands right now, Quinnipiac will be the number 1 seed, followed by Clarkson, St. Lawrence, and Colgate. So Quinnipiac will play Colgate. I have Quinnipiac beating Colgate. I just think they're an all-around better team. You know, we saw Quinnipiac beat down Colgate in an earlier game this year at 9-0. I think in the second semifinal game, Clarkson beats St. Lawrence. They're just a bigger, stronger, faster, more offensive-based team. Emil Everquist is going to be your key player in that game for St. Lawrence. He's the goalie. He's one of the best goalies in the ECAC, but I just don't think that's going to be enough for Clarkson to get by them. And then when we get to the finals, QU, it's going to be a coin flip game against Clarkson. It's been 6 really good games so far. Many of them have gone into overtime or a shootout. I got Clarkson with a slight edge just because Quinnipiac hasn't proven that they can win. Really, in the playoffs, they also have struggled winning those 3-game series, getting all the way to an ECAC championship game. So I got Clarkson just with a slight edge, but it's going to be a really good tournament.
Yeah, where compared to men's ice hockey, where their season is still going on, the women's ice hockey season has ended. So we know for sure that Quinnipiac will be taking the number 4 seed, and once again they're playing Colgate, but as a number 1 seed for Colgate. And as you see in my bracket here, I have Quinnipiac actually pulling off the upset over Colgate, and the reason for it is because I see if Quinnipiac's coming into this game with a lot of confidence after knowing that they're able to beat Colgate, I think that is great momentum going in their direction compared to if they lost against Colgate this past weekend. I think there's no chance. And I think that going back into it, that's what my opinion is. And for St. Lawrence and Clarkson, I got to go with St. Lawrence. They're on a hot streak right now. For Lucy Morgan, she's the goalie of the month for the ECAC, and she's been doing a great job. And if you can't score, you can't win. That's all it comes down to, the basics of hockey. And I think she's done a great job. And they have Annie Sadeghi, who is the player of the month for the ECAC. And when it comes to the ECAC title game, I see St. Lawrence pulling off the victory over Quinnipiac because it's going to come down to Logan Angers. It depends on what kind of night Logan Angers will have. And if you look back to the last time she faced St. Lawrence, she struggled late in the game, and that blew their chance of winning it.
A really interesting second semifinal game there is St. Lawrence and Clarkson. Clarkson is a very offensive-minded team, and you mentioned St. Lawrence has a really hot goaltender, very similar to the men's bracket, actually. So I'm very interested to see that game. I actually got Clarkson winning that game, despite how good St. Lawrence's goalie has been. I just have seen Clarkson play too much really good hockey on the women's side not to pick them to move forward to a championship game.
And I have to say, I actually disagree with both of your brackets. I won't get into it. I'm not the analyst tonight, but I will say that I think you guys did a good job of proving your points. But I have a little different mix of seeding in there. Not seeding, but winners and losers. So I guess we'll have to see who is right. But it is now time for us to go to our first break. But don't worry, there's plenty more to come as the guys talk all things basketball, and we finally find out what team they think has the best chance of claiming a conference title. So don't go anywhere. Bobcat Breakdown, we'll be right back.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction
And response time, which can be really dangerous.
It's here. It's here.
Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why? My. Oh.
Men's and women's basketball teams are gearing up for MAC playoffs starting next week. In their last regular season game this past weekend, the women's basketball team fell in a disappointing loss to Niagara. But with the cancellation of last season, the Bobcats are the defending MAC champions. Gage, do you think the defense can carry them through some of the slower starts once again to claim the title?
I think it can, actually. I see the defense for Quinnipiac doing a great job early on, and it's basically because if you look at the standings right now, they're currently projected to be the 2nd seed if the tournament started today, and they'll be likely to face off against either Monmouth or Niagara for the quarterfinal round, and they beat them both, and Niagara is the only one I'm really worried about, but Monmouth, if they face Monmouth right now, I see them easily taking care of Monmouth, but later on, they need to have their offense to start moving because when they face off against Fairfield or even Marist, if they make it that far, they're going to need their offense to be on point as well as their defense. So it's got to be a best of two worlds here at the end of the season.
That was a very wishy-washy answer from Gage Kilborn there. So let's get me on my ISO. I'll tell you what.
Okay, Ryan, let's see what you got here.
The answer to the question is no. No, their defense cannot just take them to a MAC championship because this is not the Quinnipiac women's basketball team of old. The ghosts of Jen Fay and Erin McClure and Taylor Hurd are not walking through that door anytime soon. And starting slow in a MAC tournament and just trying to play defense and wind the clock down until the clock hits 000 is not a blueprint that Trisha Fabry, I think, wants to go down the road of. We saw it against Niagara. I mean, Niagara is one of a bottom team in the conference. Gage just said that they might play Niagara. That's not a team that we just saw this weekend that they're going to walk all over. They split this weekend. I think the biggest thing for this team is they need to win the battle on the glass. They need to rebound. We saw it this weekend. Michaela Morris had 23 rebounds. That opens up everything for their offense. Mackenzie DeWeese had 21 points because the ball is constantly in her hand when Michaela Morris grabs a rebound. I think, we talk about Caverly, DeWeese, and Morris are the best 3 players on this team. They need to have the ball in their hand for this team to win. It's as easy as that. They can't just play defense. They're not going to win a MAC championship that way.
Well, Ryan, I'm going to cut in here for a sec. You just mentioned Michaela Morris. She's got like 23 rebounds over that weekend. She's leading the MAC in rebounds, and you got to also put in Mackenzie DeWeese. She's a playmaker. She's done a great job. And I don't know if you've seen many of their games or not, but I think they have a good chance at it because they're defensively. You have Mackenzie DeWeese, if she can get some steals and turn those into extra points that they don't need. And then you have Michaela Morris inside with the glass. I think she can do a great job with it overall.
Yeah, I mean, look, defense is super important, and they play a really great defensive brand of basketball. I'm just saying that eventually they're going to need to score if they want to go places.
Well, I certainly promised a lively night, and I think I have to give a point to Ryan on that for just sheer aggression coming out of the gate. But the men's basketball team has had a less than stellar season with their current losing record putting them at the 8th seed in the MAC standings. With still 3 regular games to go, it is unclear if the Bobcats can turn their season around. Ryan, who are you putting on the hot seat and placing the blame on for the disappointing turnout this year? Coach Baker Dunleavy or the players? Look,
I hate to do this, Izzy, because I just said Gage gave you a wishy-washy answer, but the real answer to this question is everyone. Everyone is to blame from the top down. Look, the players turn the ball over far too much for this team to be competitive in the MAC. They play a brand of basketball where they have to consistently shoot and make threes, which they haven't done throughout this season. And I think some of that onus goes to Baker Dunleavy. You have to recruit players that can play in your system and that are going to excel in your system, and we just haven't seen that throughout his 4 years here. We saw it right away with a really good player like Cam Young. It worked because he was such a dynamic player that could kind of make anything happen, but now when they don't have that clear number one option, yes, Jacob Bergoni has been awesome this year, but they really don't have a number one guy, and I think with that and with a system that isn't quite working, everyone really is to blame here.
Well, I'm not going to be like Ryan and give a wishy-washy answer. I'm going to give you a direct answer. This one is Baker Dunleavy, easily. He's coming out of Villanova, which the year he came out of, they won a national championship the year he was there. So he knows how national championships are supposed to be won, even any conference championships for that matter. So he's supposed to bring some of that success to Quinnipiac. And so far, we haven't really seen it, and they have the players to do it. They have Seth Pinkney, who is one of the best defensively, with averaging over 2 blocks per game. And you also have Jacob Bergoni, who just broke 1,000 points, and he just broke the school record in 3-pointers. And And they got nice versatile players coming up later with Elias King and Taimu Chenry, and Savion Lewis has been starting to light it up lately. So overall, it's got to be Baker Dunleavy. He has the talent, but he's got to use his coaching material better. We saw it earlier when they were playing Iona that once their coaching strategy works, they're able to win some close games like against Rick Pitino's Iona's Gales 74-70.
I'm just not ready to put the whole thing on Baker Dunleavy when he can be making a plan. We don't really see the behind the scenes of the basketball team. All we're seeing is what's on the court and the product on the court. At the end of the day, it falls on the players, right? When they turn the ball over too much, when they're not making shots, that's on the players. That's not on Baker Dunleavy.
Part of that's on him, but part of that's on the players. But mainly it's on Dunleavy because he has to have the strategy and the gameplay for them offensively and defensively. And so far, their defense is working, but not their offense.
Well, I feel like I'm a little bit in the hot seat right now between the two of you, but I'm loving this energy right now. So despite the underwhelming performance of the men's basketball team this season, there have been some big moments with senior Jacob Rigoni setting a Quinnipiac three-point record in their game against Marist last weekend. Another previously mentioned Quinnipiac athlete, Odin Tufto of men's ice hockey, is only 5 assists away from a record of his own. Gage, if Tufto manages to do it, which record do you think is more impressive?
Well, the first thing you hear when you hear of Quinnipiac, it's ice hockey. It's not men's basketball. So definitely it's Odin Tufto. He's had. If you look at Quinnipiac's overall history, and you see that he's able to take over and be the #1 spot in assists, that's very impressive. And judging by what they have to offer compared to what Jacob Rigoni's done, the men's basketball team overall hasn't had that much success. They have never made it to the NCAA Division I tournament. The best they've ever done was NIT. And even with that, they had early exits. So I'd say that overall, it's got to be Odin Tufto's record if he's able, and I believe he will break it this weekend against Colgate.
Yeah, I think it's not a matter of if Odin Tufto breaks it. I think it's a matter of when. He's got at least 3 games left. He gets assists in bunches, as we saw. He had 4 assists last weekend. So I think it's going to happen. It just is a matter of when. And I actually agree with Gage here. I think the more impressive record is Odin Tufto, and partially because it's not just Odin Tufto's record. It's Odin Tufto has to be so elite that he is setting up his players to also be elite and put the puck in the back of the net. I think that's a hugely underrated part of this whole discussion is that it doesn't just fall to Odin Tufto. It falls on all 125 or less than that, obviously, but those goal scorers. And I think another big thing too is Jacob Rigoni. You got to think some of those threes were wide open threes from really good looks. You rarely get a wide open shot or a wide open pass in a hockey game, and Odin Tufto, like Gage pointed out, is playing against far better competition. Obviously, it's kind of apples and oranges comparing, a mid-major basketball conference to an elite hockey conference. So you can't really fault Jacob Rigoni there, and no one is taking away Jacob Rigoni's record because hitting 254 threes is insane and something he should be extremely proud of. But I do think the more impressive feat has got to be Odin Tufto.
And as you said, Ryan, it's kind of apples and oranges here, but I think my dream scenario coming from this is to see both of them play each other's sports and see how well they could do. Maybe that could be a next Q30 segment.
That'd be a fun idea.
We could all try to play each other. I don't really know how it's going to work, but just an idea. And last, we are at the big question of the night with all 4 winter sports teams competing in playoffs this month. Guys, which team has the best chance at winning a conference title?
I'll let you take this one, Ryan, because I let the first one out.
All right, that goes first. Listen, this is kind of maybe a hot take here, but I think the women's ice hockey team has the best chance at winning a conference championship. And no, I didn't just say the men's ice hockey team. I said the women's ice hockey team. And let me tell you why. As I mentioned before, this is the best road that they're ever going to get to winning a conference championship. They only have to win 2 games, and I really think they can do that. They're playing Colgate, a team who they should have beat twice this weekend. They had a 3-goal lead. They let that slip away in their first game this weekend, but if they play just a little bit better defense, if Logan Andrews makes a few saves here and there, that's a game they win, and then they come out the next night, they put up a 4 spot right away, go up 4-0, and beat Colgate. So I think the momentum is with the Quinnipiac women's hockey team. I think they can beat Colgate, and then we saw anything can happen. I think Clarkson is a better team than St. Lawrence, but St. Lawrence just swept them twice this weekend. So I really think the men's ice hockey team has a great shot. The women's basketball team is right up there in the MAC. But I think if there is going to be any year that the women's ice hockey team makes a run, and a serious run at an ECAC hockey championship, it's going to be this year.
Yeah, I don't hate to disagree with you. I just disagree with you completely on this one. it's definitely not the women's ice hockey team because they had to face tough competition. And when you said they only had to win 2 games, you can say the same thing for the men's ice hockey team. That's who I'm going with. The men's ice hockey team, they seem like an all-around great team, and I see them maybe having like a chance at going pretty far in the tournament. And not the ECAC tournament, the NCAA tournament. If you look at their stats overall, you have Odine Tufta, who's about ready to break the school record in the assists, and you also have Keith Petruzzelli, who's a Mike Richter Award finalist, which is for one of the best goalies in the nation. And that's why I think overall that they have a great chance at making it to the ECAC championship and winning it, and maybe taking a run at the NCAA title.
We'll agree to disagree. We'll have to see.
And we are heading into our last break tonight, and coming after is QBSN's Game of the Week and our final roars. Stay tuned for more of Bobcat Breakdown.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Drew, spot on this last one. There it is. He's gone with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home, sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
And welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. It's now time for everyone's favorite segment, our final roars. Gage, take it away.
You got it, Iz. The Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team has had a season to remember, finishing with an overall record 10-5, 4-5 in ECAC play. They finished the season in 4th place in a conference of 4 teams, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. We saw Katie Budietti have a tremendous season, which was capitalized with her shutout against St. Lawrence. Without upperclassman captain Zoe Boyd, the team rallied behind Grace Markey's leadership and used that as fuel to motivate this team. After their impressive win over Colgate this past weekend, the Bobcats were able to crack the top 10 of the latest rankings poll, the first time since March of last year. They will be taking on 1-seed Colgate and Hamilton for the right to play in the ECAC title. Many might expect a blowout, but I see Quinnipiac giving Colgate a run for the money. The confidence that Coach Turner's squad gained from this weekend, along with the incredible performance by Logan Angers over the weekend, is a big reason why they have a chance at earning a spot in the NCAA tournament.
For most schools, football is the premier college sport, but here at Quinnipiac, that sport is hockey, and rightfully so. Both teams are just outside the top 10 in the national rankings. Both teams have goalies who are named as candidates for the best goalie in the nation, and both teams have elite players up and down their roster. So what's missing, you might ask? Hardware, that's what's missing. You see, the other thing these two teams have in common is that it's been 5 years since they won an ECAC hockey championship. In fact, it was both teams' only ECAC hockey championship that they've ever won. Yes, the past is the past, but the present looms large for both teams. So as they enter the ECAC hockey tournament, I feel the time for winning is now. With just 2 teams to beat, this is the best and likely easiest road either team will ever have to hanging another banner in the Frank Perotti Jr. Arena. Being the premier program on campus comes with a certain pedigree, a championship pedigree, and it's about time they remind us why they deserve that pedigree.
Fitness, basic skills, and specialty situations. Those have been the essentials for Quinnipiac field hockey team in the last 15 months since they've had a game due to COVID restrictions. Last year, in this same seat, I came down pretty hard on the Bobcats after their mediocre 2019 season. Did I call it one of the worst seasons in Quinnipiac field hockey history? Yes, and I stand by that. They had the talent, but they couldn't execute a winning season. In fact, it's been 6 years since they've had a winning record. But head coach Becca Main says she feels confident in their squad this year after having over 400 days to revamp the team. My main two issues last year were the team's depth and their ability to work in those specialty situations. With fitness being such a focus, Maine hopes to increase the depth by working with their entire 23-man roster. By having a team who can run hard throughout the whole game, they have a chance to better capitalize on fast breaks and show their skills in the circle. I think Maine's focus on depth and fitness will really help get those wins in a tough Big East conference. And I'm hoping when I'm sitting back here in 2 months, I get to do a 180 and talk about how this was one of the best seasons in Quinnipiac field hockey history. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check us out online at Q30TV.com and QBSN.com. You can find us on social media at Q30TV and at QBSN. You can also now find us on the Q30TV app available for download. For Gage, Ryan, and everyone behind the scenes, I'm Izzy Agricola, and this has been Bobcat Breakdown.